Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing my spoiler discussion for Teen Titans The Judas Contract. If you guys want to check out my spoiler-free review, there is a link in the description to that so you can avoid all spoilers, check out the movie, and then come back here if you're interested. But getting right into it, I actually want to talk about the opening sequence because for one, it was pretty cool that they kind of did the comic book thing where it's like, hey, check out this sort of early flashback, which you don't know that in the beginning because at first I was like, did Damien grow up and he started to look like, you know, old school Robin? Because I could tell him, like, he looks really weird because all the Robins, even though they have the same colors, all their outfits look different. And I was like, he looks a little weird like that. And I'm like, oh, this isn't, you know, this has to be a flashback. And then, like, it was kind of weird that I was thinking that because I'm like, okay, it kind of makes sense that it would be forward in time because Beast Boy is there. But also, I'm like, this is definitely not Damien. And there's no one else after Damien, at least not that I know of. You know, no new Robin after Damien, not counting the girl from like the Dark Knight, you know, Frank Miller thing, not counting her. I only know, you know, it kind of stops at Damien. So I'm like, all right, who the F is this? This has to be, you know, Dick Grayson as a flashback. And then of course when they show Starfire, it's like, yeah, this is definitely a flashback. She wasn't even speaking English in the beginning. And we have like the other Teen Titan members. We have Bumblebee, we have Kid Flash, and I believe there was someone else. It may have just been them, and then Beast Boy was... Oh no, Speedy was there too. So we get to see these three new characters, which was really freaking cool. And then it's like, this kind of sucks that this is a flashback, because I thought they like skipped so much time that they added way more members. And then also with the fact that it was a flashback, I'm like, what in the world is going on with the Beast Boy thing? Because I really felt like they should have explained that. Like, are they trying to say that that's like his son or something like that? Because I'm like, there's a big difference here, and I doubt it would be his son, but I'm just like, I feel like they shouldn't have done that. I feel like they were doing it for like the aspect of, check it out, here are the you know, Teen Titan characters that you might be familiar with. Some of them looked a bit like they, well, Bumblebee always kind of looks the same. It's kind of hard to change up her costume, so she looked like she did from the old Teen Titan show. Speedy actually looked pretty sweet. I actually liked him having like the actual full jacket. I thought they actually did a great costume for him. And Kid Flash, I thought had an interesting look as well. I'd have to check it out again. I don't know if I'd really say I like it, but I thought it was interesting. It was definitely different, but it looked kind of weird, but not like super crazy weird. But it was definitely the new 52 version of that character, because the top piece is free. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. You know, we get to see these characters, and now that we find out it's a flashback, we know that it's in, you know, that they're all adults now. So I'm excited to see what they do with that in the future, if they decide to do anything with it. But, you know, Wally's an adult. I really can't remember the other characters' actual names, but Speedy and Bumblebee are adults and stuff. And it's just like, that's kind of a cool way to do that. I'm very surprised that they did that. But it's still really cool to see them in that opening segment. And then, like I said, as far as that being really cool, it also didn't make sense. The Beast Boy thing just really got me. I was like, how does this make sense? Because, you know, he's not the same person. At least I don't believe it's supposed to be the same person. Otherwise, he stayed as a kid the whole freaking time, and they never seemed to explain that. So I just thought, that was really weird, and there's no explanation there. Unless I missed like one solid line that explained it, something is off with that. So I don't know, and I'm pretty sure Beast Boy doesn't stay the same age forever. So like something, they did that where he has like his old costume, or at least a variation on it, because he had like a mask on too. But it's like his old costume that he had where it's like the black and purple, and that's when he was a part of something. It's called like the Something Society, if I remember right. But I was like, okay, that's cool that they had him in that old costume. It's kind of a reference to, well, it's a complete reference to like the old version of that character, but you know, it's not the same person, or is it? They don't explain that. I thought that was really weird for them to throw that in there, but love the opening. Outside of that, you know, seeing the other characters, it did suck that that was just a flashback. I was like, man, I love seeing this where we have like Speedy and, you know, Kid Flash and Bumblebee. And it's like they got a bunch of new members, so we get to see like this big version of the Teen Titans. And it was like, oh, that sucks. That's just a flashback, and the only new person ends up being Terra. But they did a good job with Terra. They definitely made her like mean in this one. Like, I'm used to like the Teen Titans version where she's like happy-go-lucky. Like, she's kind of a lot like Beast Boy in the other one. And then it changes over time once it's revealed that she's working with Slade and stuff like that. In this, she's kind of like a straight-up bitch from like the beginning. And then we get the flashbacks going, especially the second flashback where the dude's dragging her around on the ground. It's like, okay, yeah, the first time, it was clear from the beginning. As soon as it was like she was being yelled at as a kid because she had powers, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then it went to like, okay, that's beyond people being, you know, crazy and yelling at you. This dude like dragged her around on the ground and was about to, he did pull a gun on her and he was about to kill her. So it made a lot of sense at that point, like why she was so distant from everyone. And then we find out that she's already working with Slade. And I thought for sure that it was going to kind of be like, you know, it's Terra, so it would eventually kind of transition into that. But I thought it was, I liked the way they did it, honestly, where it's like she ends up working with him. She had been, we found out it's a year difference between the last film and this film, which I thought was interesting. So she's been in deep cover for a full year, and I thought it was cool the way they did it, where they explained Deathstroke is the one that ended up saving her. He just decapitates that dude, and he's just like, I think he just said, leave or die, your choice. I think those were his options, and then of course everyone took off, because it's like, this dude just decapitated somebody. You know, we're a-holes, but not, you know, we're not like crazy. So of course they take off and he ends up saving Terra, and he kind of raises her in this really, really weird way, because they have like this pseudo relationship thing going. I don't know if it's different from the comic book version, where maybe the characters were already a bit older. I don't know if this came from a New 52 storyline or if this is from like before that. And if it's before the New 52, then the characters would have been older and it would have made more sense. So if that is the case, I would love for you guys to let me know that, because I'm like, otherwise, it was just really weird that this girl would be so infatuated with him. And I mean, she was younger, so I guess she would know what it's like to like someone, and then it's this weird obsession because he's the only person to like. It kind of makes sense a little bit, so she doesn't even have that concept of how it might be right or wrong based on her age. She's just like, this is the only dude that didn't try to shoot me in the face or drag me around on the, you know, on the back of a four-wheeler. So it kind of makes sense. It was still just kind of weird to see. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then, of course, as it goes along, like by the time it gets to the end of the movie, him saying all that stuff like, oh, yeah, we'll be together later. It turns out none of that crap was real, because, of course, it's Slade Wilson, and he doesn't really give a crap about this girl. He didn't want anything to actually do with this young girl. It's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And they even kind of point that out from Damien, where he's like, I bet he saved you, and then he kept you isolated, and he trained you, and then he told you you could have whatever you wanted. And then they, you know, of course, have the scene right after where he's like, after this, we can be together, which is exactly what you wanted. So I was like, okay. It still starts off creepy, so you know, it's still there for sure. And she even talks about it towards the end of the film, when they're like, you know, what did he do to you? And she's like, nothing. No matter how many times I asked. And I was like, still kind of creepy. You know, she's still young. She's not like, you know, like in this in-between where it's like, she's definitely like 19 or something. It's like, no, Starfire and Dick Grayson are like in their mid-20s, and everyone else is in like their mid-teens. And it's like, it's really obvious that that's how it is. So it's like, yeah, it doesn't really work. You know, it doesn't feel normal. It's just like an awkward, weird relationship that they have. But, you know, like I said, by the time it gets to the end, it's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Slade Wilson didn't have any weird feelings for this young girl. It's just like, sure, you're powerful, but, you know, yeah, whatever you want, as long as I basically have you utilize your power for me and my $200 million contract. Like, my girlfriend and I were both watching it, and Brother Blood transferred that money. First off, how did he get, I mean, it's a cult, so I guess all the people are donating. But I was just like, wow, like, we were both just like, man, $200 million, that's insane. That's more money than he could possibly really spend. And he wants to use it to form his own League of Assassins, which it does make me wonder if they actually killed him off, or if they're going to save that for something. Maybe someone else ends up saving him. There is the element of the teaser at the end of the movie, or at the end of the credits, where the guy that first got the powers, where he basically absorbed the lives of like 5 different people. I don't know if that was supposed to be a hint, like one of them was actually a mutant who was immortal or something like that. I would kind of assume that that wasn't the case. But he basically absorbed the lives of like 5 different people, so I don't know what the deal was with that. But, you know, he like took a beating where the guy was able to hit him with the crowbar, and it was nothing. It was like he felt no pain, and, you know, he bent the bar. But the woman shot him in the head, and it killed him, because it was like he's stronger because he took basically the strength of 5 people. So it was like, yeah, that makes sense that he can get hit and not die. But being shot in the head would still kill him because it's a bullet, and that's different than someone just swinging, you know, a crowbar on you. It's totally different. It's 2 different types of pain, or, you know, attacks. So I don't know how they're going to explain that at the end of it with him like coming back to life and like reviving, because I'm like, okay, well, clearly what Brother Blood did, where he was taking everyone's power, he got their powers. Even Blue Beetle, who doesn't have actual superpowers, he was able to absorb even the technology of the Scarab into like this weird red portal thing, and into, you know, like the little handless he was holding on to, and it still gave him those powers. So they really need a good explanation for how this dude was able to get like the ability to heal from a bullet wound, even though it took a super long time. He still came back to life. So I'm like, there has to be something there. Maybe he has like those people's actual lives. He can die a total of 6 times, including his own life. So maybe that's how they'll explain it. And I don't know what this character is going to end up being either, but every teaser leads into the next film. So I don't know who this character is going to end up being. You know, I'm sure there's already a story out there as far as like, you know, what this story led into, as far as this guy coming back to life. But I really don't have any guesses. It's nothing that I'm too familiar with. I don't know that much about Hive or anything like that. The closest this, you know, comes as far as I'm concerned is from like the old Teen Titans episode when they did like Teen Titans East, and Cyborg had to fight the guy by himself, and he was like fully technolized or something, you know, something like that. It was really crazy, and he was like able to like just, you know, absorb energy or something weird like that. That's about as close as I got. So I don't know what they're gonna do with this guy, if he's gonna become the new Brother Blood, since, you know, this version of course ends up dying. Who knows? But I am definitely looking forward to how this sort of, you know, seemingly small tease compared to all the other teases. Like you have the Justice League movie that teased, you know, the second Justice League where they were bringing in Aquaman. I can't remember what the tease was for the second Justice League movie, but I believe it teased maybe the League of Assassins or maybe, you know, some more Batman stuff. And then of course those just lead into, those may not have even had teases either, but I may have just skipped them. But, you know, those all flow together, and then the ending of Teen Titans teased that Terra, of course, was coming into this film. So I am very curious because the tease is always what the next film is going to be about. So I am looking forward to that. I'm just like, okay, it's just some dude who was working for Hive, which seemingly is destroyed. There are multiple forms of Brother Blood, so like I said, he could end up taking over for Hive. Like, hey, I'm actually here now. He died, but, excuse me, check me out. I'm alive. I was shot in the head and everything. About the crazy girl who also killed Brother Blood at the end because she didn't want him to, like, be captured. And then she sits with him, and, you know, then the rock crushes them both. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. That's crazy. So who knows what they'll do with that. I'm sure, like I said, there's already a story about that specific character and him becoming important, but for now, I got nothing. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm not that deep into the universe to really know what we're headed into next. But I am excited, of course. But going into this, as far as the actual Teen Titans, I mentioned my spoiler-free review. I think they did a really good job focusing on the other characters in this movie. The last one really focused on Damien and Raven. So this one, they definitely take a backseat, especially Damien. Like, he says his couple of quips where he's, you know, like, cautious and stuff like that. Raven has a couple of moments where she's trying to help Terra a little bit. Sadly, we don't even get to see them fight. Although I will say that, you know, Dick versus Slade was an epic fight. And of course, that, you know, brought back some memories of old Teen Titans. That's all I could think about too, was like him, you know, it being Slade versus the Teen Titans, but it's a different version of the Teen Titans. That's all I could freaking think of, was like, this is weird because it's not, you know, the same Slade and it's not the same Titans. That's all I thought about the whole movie because Slade was so involved in it. And they were still doing the Terra storyline, but they were, you know, Beast Boy was still there, and so was Raven. But of course, you know, you have a different Robin and Damien, and of course, Dick Grayson Robin is now Nightwing, and Starfire is a full-grown adult as well. So it was so weird watching it, where it's like, some of these elements are the same, but some are also very different. But I like what they did, putting Damien and Raven to the back seat. I mentioned this also in my spoiler-free review, that I don't know if that made this movie better than the last one, because the last one just focused, you know, the focus on Raven, I think, is just, you know, leaps and bounds, like the coolest thing you could possibly do with Teen Titans. She has such a dark history. They touched on it with, you know, with Terra, of course, her being attacked and persecuted and stuff like that, nearly being killed just in front of a crowd of people. So it definitely got dark, but with Raven, it was just a whole different element of dark, and literally dark magic and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't think the focus was as cool as it was last time, where it focused on Damien joining this new team and all the other introductions that happened, and that just getting a new Teen Titans was cool, them fighting the Justice League, all that stuff. Hard to compare that to this, but they certainly did a great job with it. We get more on Jaime, which I thought was really good, where they kind of focus, for him it's more the emotional side. For most of the characters, really, it's the emotional stuff, but for him, I really enjoyed it because it was like his emotional struggle is that he's still working on the Scarab and trying to control it, and like it hates his dad for some reason. So that's why his dad and him can't really talk too much. It's like, you know, I hate that, you know, his dad hates the Scarab. It's not that he hates his son, but he feels like he can't even say anything to his son because the Scarab will like react crazy, and it'll kind of almost control his son a little. And I was like, that's a very interesting sort of struggle for them to have, because like his dad seemed kind of like distant from Jaime, but he wasn't, and it was because he's like, I know I can't get too close because for one, I could die, and two, if I don't die, it could like control my son because he can't control it. And I was like, that's a really interesting way. I feel like, you know, considering they had all these characters to focus on, they couldn't, but it would have been interesting to see them focus a little more on that idea of how it looks from the outside, where it's like his father seems distant from his own son, but really he's distant for safety reasons. And I wish they could have touched on that like a little bit more. Though I think that would have been pretty cool. But ultimately, in the end, everything ends up working out fine. But I thought that was really good. Of course, Beast Boy and Terra. It starts off really silly, and it's very different from the old series where in this, Terra like hates Beast Boy. He's constantly trying to, you know, swoon her and everything. And it's just not working until, you know, finally it does in the end, which is a great sequence where he's just turning out all the different creatures. I thought that was actually a really funny sequence. That was a pretty good one. But, you know, like his struggle trying to help her, and even all the way up until the end, it was pretty sad. It just made me think of, you know, once again, the old Teen Titans, where he's like, you see what's happening, like, especially at the end, because she does decide to fight against Slade after he ends up betraying her. And he's just like, Terra, like, just come with us, like, you know what you did was wrong, and you get that now. We're still cool, like, we can make this work, but of course she decides to sacrifice herself instead. So it was very interesting the way they did it. It was definitely a darker way to do it compared to the other Teen Titans show. I think it was darker, but it wasn't as sad as the other Teen Titans because that, you know, it lasted a much longer span of time, and she was their friend for such a long time. Like in this, technically it was a year, but also, you know, we see from the beginning of the movie, like I said, she was kind of bitchy to them, and it seemed like that's how it was like the entire year, apparently. So she's kind of distant from them for like the whole year, and this is a year of Beast Boy trying to, you know, get with her and stuff the whole way through. So it's not as sad because we don't really get to see them be friends outside of like the birthday sequence, which I thought that was really weird. I thought it made sense to have that sequence where it's like, you know, this is where she's finally getting to the point of her realizing that these people aren't that bad. Like, she doesn't have to just go with the rules and follow Slade and kill them. She can actually like these people. But I kind of hated the way they did it, where it was just like, it just came out of nowhere. It's like the song comes up and the montage, and it was just like this super, super duper poppy song. Like, it didn't even fit Terra, even though she was having fun. I was like, it still doesn't even fit her just for this one moment of happiness. And I was just like, this felt so weird, and just out of nowhere to have this sort of montage. Like, I felt like they could have done it in a different form, or not even done a montage and just made it shorter, where she's just like talking to them and then just cut, and it's like, you know, she's like, yeah, like someone tells a joke and she actually laughs at it or something really simple. But they went like full montage with the random song out of nowhere, and I was like, I feel like that just didn't fit. And especially because it was getting right to the point of her finally, you know, finding all the pieces that they needed to make everything work. It was like, all right, Brother Blood has what he needs. Slade has the intel that he needs. They'd already taken Damien, so they were moving along with those really important steps. And it was so dramatic and serious. And then, you know, she has like the celebration and stuff, and it's like the super poppy montage. And I was like, I just felt like they could have done that without the song. And, you know, take out the montage, just do 2 clips that equal the same amount of distance, where we just see that she eats a piece of cake, or she laughs, or they smile, or someone hugs her and she doesn't like push them off. Felt like it could have been way better than the poppy song out of nowhere. I was just like, I just don't, it just seemed weird. Like, it just seemed like it came out of nowhere to me. So that was really my biggest issue with the whole thing. That, and, you know, the weird flashback where there's 2 Beast Boy things. So I don't know, but still enjoyed what they did. The action in this was really good. I loved Nightwing versus Slade. That was great. Dick was getting like beat up though. Like, he even has his arm broken and he was still fighting. As my girlfriend pointed out, him being shot and the bullet not going through like the wood cutting block didn't make a ton of sense, to be totally honest. Like, I could see if it was like from a super long distance, and technically it would happen if it was like maybe a fake bullet, or, you know, someone like made a bullet to shoot at Dick. But this is Slade Wilson, where he pulls out like a submachine gun, and he was only like a couple of feet away, and I'm like, yeah, that didn't, I mean, I guess it wasn't, because he pulled it and he only shot 1 bullet, so I guess it wasn't a submachine gun, but that's exactly what it looked like to me. So I don't know, maybe if I look back at it, that'll explain how it actually worked, where he didn't get killed from that bullet, because that was a fairly close distance and it stopped in a wood block. And I know, you know, wood can be tough, but I was like, well, he wasn't that far. You know, he didn't shoot like a little pellet at him. He shot him with a bullet to kill him. And I was like, yeah, as soon as she said it, it was like, yeah, as soon as we saw it, it was like, yeah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense why the wood block would do it. It could if it was like a much greater distance. I could totally see that happening. Like if Dick was like on that little wooden bridge and Slade was like still in the marketplace and he just shot from a super long distance, but he slayed, so he hit him, I'd be like, sure, I could see him surviving that, and he gets hit in the woodblock from a super long distance. Yeah, I could see that. I could believe that. But 10 feet away, the bullet was stopped by wood. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't see that. That's me personally. That was a little bit of the extra issue that I had in there, I guess. But ultimately enjoyed the film. Love the ending. Once again, this kind of ties into Raven not being a big part of the movie. We don't see her fight because we get to see Nightwing versus Slade. We also don't really get to see her fight too much in the end either. She's ultimately the one that kind of stops him because she like sucks the power out of him, which is of course super epic where she goes like full demon mode. But other than that, like you don't even know she's in the thing. I was trying to figure out where she was when everybody else was chained up. And then I finally realized like, oh, she's in the little square part where all the purple is coming from. That's where she is, but they never even show her because she doesn't speak. I was so confused. I was like, is she on the other side of the machine? And then I was like, oh, she's in the cube portion. But great ending fight sequence. Brother Blood having all the powers and stuff I thought was cool. They have to take him down, and it's not exactly easy. Both Damien and Dick have to fight against Slade, which makes sense because he's insanely powerful, and he's still kind of beating them up. And he was about to take them both down. He was about to like snap Dick's neck or whatever. And then that's of course where Terra comes in, and that was super cool because she like lost her freaking mind, and she was like, "I'm gonna kill you." And I thought she did when she like threw the rocks into him. That was another weird thing, and he ended up being alive after that, but he's seemingly dead. So we'll see how that works out because it's Deathstroke. They might want to bring him back no matter what. So we'll see what happens with that. But fun movie, love the action. Very excited to see where they go with this ending tease. Also, they had Kevin Smith at the end, which I thought was funny. But we also get to see Wonder Girl is going to show up. And I'm super excited for that because Wonder Girl, we haven't really seen in animation outside of like a little bit in Young Justice and the new like the DC superhero girls show. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but that's about it. So I'm looking forward to what they do with those things. This is already super long for a spoiler discussion, but I enjoyed it. I feel like there was a lot to really talk about in this, and I'm excited to see where they go. But of course, would love to know where you guys want to see this film go, this franchise, just what they do with the Teen Titans, and really what you thought about that flashback. Like, with those characters being adults now, do you want to see them kind of rejoin the Teen Titans and help lead them and stuff like that? Where do you want to see them go? And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this film in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.